Welcome back to the deep dive. So we've got a fascinating one today. All the source material, the analytics, the data models, they're all pointing to one specific match to kick off the new year.
They really are.
We are zeroing in on Crystal Palace versus Fulham, Selhurst Park, January 1st, 2026.
And our mission here is to really unpack the conflict in the data. You have 4-bet football predictions, all these different inputs, and they're telling very different stories. On the surface, it's just a mid-table London derby. But when you dig in, you see this complete statistical paradox that makes it almost impossible to call.
I think that tension is exactly it. You have two London rivals, and this is the crazy part. They are perfectly level on points to start the year.
Exactly. This isn't just about the 3 points. It's about setting the tone for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Let's just lay out the stakes here because the parity is pretty stunning.
Okay, let's do it. Where do they stand?
Well, Crystal Palace and Fulham are basically side by side. Palace is sitting, 9th or 11th, depending on the source. Fulham right there at 10th or 12th.
And both on 26 points.
Both locked on 26 points. We are talking only goal difference separating them.
So that's your textbook six-pointer, right?
It's the definition of a classic six-pointer. The winner doesn't just get 3 points, they stop a direct rival from getting them. It's a huge swing.
And while the table says they're dead even right now, the history suggests Palace comes into this with a bit of a mental edge.
It absolutely matters, especially in a derby. You look at the last 6 games between them, Palace has won 3.
And more importantly.
More importantly, they just beat Fulham 2-1 at Craven Cottage earlier this month.
So that's fresh. That has to be in the back of their minds.
It's definitely in their minds. So Fulham aren't just playing a rival, they're looking for a bit of revenge for that recent loss.
Which brings us to the real conflict in the narrative, and this is where the data just goes in two completely different directions. We have to talk about Crystal Palace's form, especially at home. It's a paradox.
It's bipolar is a good word for it.
Yeah.
I mean, in the league, they've lost 4 of their last 6 games.
Including 3 straight defeats.
3 in a row coming into this. But at home at Selhurst Park, it's just alarming. They're taking just 0.25 points per game there.
Wow.
Yeah. And they haven't won at home in 4 straight matches. You're scoring, 0.75 goals a game and letting in 2? That's relegation form, not top half form.
That is dismal. So the results are bad, they're not scoring, they're losing. But this is where we get that aha moment for you, the listener. The expected goals metric.
Yes, this is the key.
What does their XG tell us about what's actually happening on the pitch?
This is the thing that saves Palace from being a complete write-off. Despite scoring so few goals at home, their expected goals is a really high 1.55.
So wait, they should be scoring almost double what they actually are.
That's it. The quality of the chances they're creating says they should be scoring nearly twice as many goals. They're doing the hard part, which is creating the chances.
But they're failing at the supposedly easier part, which is putting the ball in the net.
Precisely. And this isn't a small gap. The French source, Le Figaro, specifically points this out. It says Palace has the single largest expected goals deficit in the entire division.
The biggest in the whole league. That's staggering. That's not just bad luck anymore.
No, that points to a systemic problem in front of goal. And you can see why the manager, Oliver Glasner, keeps talking about a lack of efficiency. The data backs him up completely.
And the sources even pinpoint the player, don't they?
They do. They're really zeroing in on one man, Jean-Philippe Mateta. He's the one who is flagged again and again as struggling to convert these really high-quality chances the team creates for him.
Oof. The pressure on him must be immense, and to make it worse, they're missing Ismail Assar, who's away on international duty.
It just makes a bad problem even worse. So you have Palace, this team that's just brimming with frustrating potential, and then you have Fulham.
The momentum machine.
Let's pivot to them, yeah. Because their story is so much cleaner. It's all about upward trajectory.
While Palace is losing 3 straight,
Fulham comes in, having won 3 straight. They've got this great dynamic going forward. And their points per game is a really stable 1.80.
And what's impressive is that it's stable both home and away, right?
That's the key to their mentality. It's a balanced resilience. They get 1.80 points per game at home, and they get 1.80 points per game away.
So they know who they are no matter where they play.
Exactly. On the road, they score 1.4, they concede 1.4, it's stable. And they keep clean sheets in 20% of their away games, which is a sign of a really well-coached, structured team.
And who's driving that attack? The sources seem to credit a couple of key players.
Yeah, they've scored 7 goals in their last 5, and the 2 names that keep coming up are Harry Wilson and Raul Jimenez. They've just been decisive. They're providing the clinical finishing that Palace is desperate for.
Now, Fulham have their own absences. Bassey, Chuckways, Iwobi are all on international duty, but it doesn't seem to have slowed them down.
Not at all. They just beat West Ham 1-0 without them.
Yeah.
It suggests they've got, better squad depth, or maybe just that the guys who are in form right now are just that decisive. They're less fragile than Palace.
So that's the conflict, right? The struggling creator in Palace versus the clinical, consistent machine in Fulham. But then you throw in the London Derby factor.
And everything gets more complicated.
Yeah.
The emotion, the intensity. This is where we need to look at the individual battles.
The tactical flashpoint.
Yeah, the analysts are saying this whole game could come down to the midfield. You've got to watch Justin Devaney for Palace. He's their creative hub.
And for Fulham.
It's the pacey threat of Harry Wilson. Whichever of those two can get on the ball and control the tempo, that's going to have a massive impact.
And with a derby, you have to talk about, well, the physical side of it, the cards.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a huge red flag here in the data.
What is it?
Crystal Palace's disciplinary record. They have picked up 11 yellow cards in just their last 5 matches.
11. That's a lot.
It signals aggression, maybe some desperation. You have to expect a physical game, and the ref is going to be busy.
Which leads us to the big disagreement. If Fulham's form is so much better, why isn't everyone just predicting a Fulham win? Why are the forecasts so split?
This is the really fascinating part of the deep dive. You have the pure algorithm, like 4Bet. It's looking at the numbers, the historical H2H, and that massive XG for Palace.
And it says what?
It's leaning towards a Palace victory,
Yeah.
a 2-1 scoreline. The computer basically says, look, they create so much, eventually the goals have to come.
But the human analysts, the ones who factor in things like morale and momentum, they see it differently.
Completely differently. The human consensus, your footballpredictions.com, Alan Shearer, people like that, they're all saying a 1-1 draw.
Okay.
They're arguing that Fulham's great form is basically canceled out by Palace's home crowd and that historical dominance in this fixture.
So the algorithm bets on potential and the humans bet on a stalemate.
That's the perfect way to put it. And even the bookmakers are confused. They still have Palace as slight favorites, even with Fulham's winning streak. It shows how much weight they put on that home advantage at Selhurst Park.
So with all this conflicting information, what are the high-value takeaways for someone watching? Where does the data actually agree?
Right. We can find some confidence in the smaller details. The highest confidence bet, the one almost everyone agrees on, is both teams to score.
BTTF?
BTTS. It just fits the narrative perfectly. Palace creates a ton, but is shaky at the back, and Fulham is scoring consistently.
And the numbers back that up.
They do. Palace has a 60% BTTS rate overall. Fulham has a 60% BTTS rate away from home. When both are that high, it's a very strong indicator.
And sticking with that aggressive theme, what about the cards?
Given Palace's 11 yellows in 5 games and the fact it's a derby, betting on over 3.5 yellow cards has extremely strong value. You can pretty much bank on a scrappy physical game.
What about the flow of the match? Is there a prediction there?
Yeah, with so much on the line, a halftime draw is also seen as very likely. The teams will probably feel each other out, be a bit cautious before things open up in the second half.
Okay, let's get granular. The sources actually name names, right? For goal scorers and bookings.
They do. And this is interesting. Despite all his struggles, the analysts are still picking Jean-Philippe Mateta as a likely goal scorer. They think the sheer volume of his chances has to pay off eventually.
And for a booking?
The player flagged to get a card is Fulham's Sasa Lukic. So there's some real precision in the data there.
And finally, just to complete the picture, what about things like shots and corners?
Expect a lot of action. The projection is for over 2.5 shots on target for both teams, so a total over 4.5. Again, that points to goals.
Supports the BTTS theory.
Exactly. And corners should be somewhere in the 9 to 11 range, which suggests sustained pressure from both sides.
Okay, let's wrap this all up. After digging through all this conflicting data, what's the one core takeaway the listener needs to have?
This match is fundamentally a battle between Fulham's tangible, real-world momentum and Crystal Palace's historical dominance and their massive unseen statistical potential.
Right. It's what's happening now versus what the numbers say should be happening.
It's reality versus mathematical expectation.
So the big question is, does that current undeniable form from Fulham, from Wilson and Jimenez, does that finally break through the home field motivation and the history that Palace has in this fixture?
That's the whole story.
Right.
And I think that leads us to the final provocative thought for you to track as you watch. It's all about Palace. Given that they create so much but convert so little, and have the league's biggest XG deficit.
Mm.
What breaks first?
Mm.
Does Mateta finally break his slump against a rival and turn all that potential into points? Or does the weight of constantly failing to score finally break the team's spirit? Watch his conversion rate in this match. That one thing will tell you everything you need to know about where Crystal Palace is heading for the rest of the season.